One. Hey guys, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Happy Thanksgiving, Mike Evans. Having a little Thanksgiving feast. You're going to do that in Breckenridge, right? You're doing a little family vacation for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, the wife said no more. I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of the big preparation. I always tell her you don't need to go that far, but she has a standard, right? The standard's the standard. So we decided to get away, head up to the mountains. It's snowing right now, heavy snow coming down right now. Oh, it's beautiful right now, Stink.
Oh, that is glorious. I will head out to spend Thanksgiving with my grandkids in Tampa, Florida. So that's going to be great. So it's going to be nice. So we're going to wrap the whole thing up today. Yeah. All the Stinkin Truth podcast today, everything you need to know about the National Football League.
So what's it like? You played on Thanksgiving, right? What's that like? Because
I've never.
You never did.
I never played on Thanksgiving Day. I played on Christmas Eve. But I don't think I ever played on Thanksgiving Day.
Because it's funny, you guys, nobody likes playing on a Thursday, but yet Thanksgiving Thursday, everyone seems to enjoy being in the spotlight like that.
I mean, if you play wide receiver or you play quarterback or running back where you can make a name for yourself, sure. If you play offensive line, you're miserable. Nobody wants to play like, hey, listen, let me get on prime time on Thanksgiving where we're the only show, like we're the only game in town and get my ass kicked in front of 70 million people. Like, no, or 25 million people, whatever it is. No, I don't have any desire to play in those. I would play every game at 9 a.m. kickoff if I could. That would be my make sure the defensive line's tired. They don't want to play. The offensive linemen have been up drinking coffee since 4 a.m. Yeah, we're ready to roll. Let's go.
Yeah, that's you. You're just always afraid of what could go wrong. And so it's like, I'm going to have a holding call in front of 70 million people. My quarterback's going to get blown up because of me. Right. Schlereth. Okay. Well, then let's get into it. Well, Detroit, it used to be for a long time, it was like, oh, God, America's like, we got to watch Detroit again. But now I can't wait to watch Detroit. Stink, tell me why this team. Give me one reason why this team does not win the Super Bowl this year. What is their potential Achilles heel?
Philadelphia.
Ooh, okay.
Philadelphia is great. Listen, man, I've been on the Detroit bandwagon way before anybody got on the bandwagon. Yeah. I was on with Jared Goff. I was on this bandwagon for quite some time now because of the way they're built. They wear your ass out. They will physically wear you out, and they've got enough talent, at the tight end position, the running back position, the wide receiver position. They've got enough talent to beat you with big-time plays, but they'll wear you out up front. Their offensive line will lean on you. They'll run on you. They'll do all those things. So they're pretty amazing that way. And then defensively, I saw this stat, and it was incredible, Mike, defensively, because they lost – they've lost some guys defensively, right? They lost Aiden Hutchinson. They just lost they just lost Anzalone, their outstanding middle linebacker, right? So they have lost guys. They've had some issues. And it was really interesting because their defense in the last 5 games, it was something of the nature, I've got something somewhere, but it was like in their last 5 games in the second half, they've given up 11 points. I mean, it's what they're doing defensively is pretty amazing. But if I did like a confidence pick, okay, and I said, all right, let's go confidence pick. Let's go Detroit versus Philadelphia. Well, let's just do it, okay? Offensive line, where would you go? I'd probably say it's a wash. They're both really good, right? Philly's offense, I can make an argument for either one. I think Penei Sewell's one of the best players, but so is Lane Johnson, on and on it goes. But I would probably call that a wash, okay? Running back position. You going to go Saquon? I mean, Saquon is special. The two backs, both the Montgomery and Gibbs, are great, but if you're going to give the confidence to one or the other, it's probably going to go to Saquon, right? Receivers. Are you going with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Goddard at tight end? Or are you going Amon-Ra St. Brown, you going Jameson Williams, and you going Laporta?
Laporta, yeah.
I would probably wash that as well. Okay. Then quarterback, I'd give it to Jared Goff. I just think Jared Goff is a better overall drop back guy. I think he's just a better overall quarterback. But on the defensive side of the ball, defensive line, with Jalen Carter and all the beasts they have on their defensive line, I would probably go Philadelphia.
So is this probably maybe as simple as who has home field?
Could be, yeah. It could come down to home field advantage. I'd still go Detroit as the better overall team from a play calling standpoint. Listen, one thing about Detroit that I think is really cool, and Dan Campbell has embraced that kind of Detroit spirit and embraced the fact that, hey, man, when he started off, they were 3-13 his first year. They stuck with him. They started the next season at 1-6 in 2022, and people were calling for, here we go, this guy who has stayed aggressive and gone for it on fourth down and built his team this way, and it's not the right way to do it. To Dan Campbell's credit, he has hung in there, stayed with that, been completely authentic to who he is, and it's paying dividends right now because they believe in their head coach, and why wouldn't they? And here's the other thing that's cool about Detroit. With all the trick plays and all the things that they do on a consistent basis and going for it on fourth down and everything else, I think if it was just about anybody else with the history that Detroit has, people don't get pissed at them.
Yeah.
You go for it on a fourth down and everybody's like, oh my gosh, you went for it on fourth down and you had the game won and this, that, and the other, and people are all pissed off about it. Dan Campbell, no. It's who he's been when they were 3-13 and when they started the 2022 season at 1-6. That's who they were, and they have stayed true to that. And then plus, everybody loves the lovable loser Detroit Lions, have had very few winning seasons, and all of a sudden, man, they are a beast. And I love watching them play. They're one of the most exciting teams to watch play. And we're sitting around after a game against the Colts where they only win by 18 going, are they still the best team in football? They only won a game by 18. Like, what are we going to do?
So that division, that NFC North, you got Detroit. We've already praised them to the moon. But then you got Minnesota, you got Green Bay. Those three teams atop the AFC North are combined 27-6 right now.
Yeah.
So we talked about the ceiling for Detroit. It's as high as it can go. What about Minnesota? What about Green Bay?
It's interesting because if you looked at Philly and Detroit, they're here. And then I think you take a step down, right? Like quite a big step down. And then you've got Green Bay and Minnesota. And I'm not so sure that if I was actually, I am sure. If I was pressed, even though Minnesota beat Green Bay earlier in the year, now Green Bay, Jordan Love was coming off an injury when they beat him. That was his first game back from the knee injury. But I would put Green Bay ahead of Minnesota. And then it's everybody else. Then it's Atlanta. Then it's Seattle. Then it's everybody else in the division, blah, blah, blah. So I could definitely see Minnesota getting a playoff game against call it a Seattle or against Atlanta or whoever, and winning that playoff game. I could see that happening. I don't think they have the ability to push deep into the playoffs. But listen, if Jordan Love gets on a heater like he did at the end of last season, his last 9 or 10 games of the season last year were ridiculous. And he leads the league in interceptions with 11. He didn't throw one last week, but he threw 2 or 3 that could have been picked off last week. Jordan Love is one of those guys that you would look at and say, man, if he rectifies that, and this comes down to coaching for me with the Green Bay Packers. Listen, Jordan Love is taking too many chances with the football. You got to lean in to Josh Jacobs. You got to lean into your running game. You got to lean into your play action stuff. You've got to take the ball out of his hands in critical moments, right? Let the scheme do what the scheme does, and coach him out of throwing all the interceptions that he has thrown. But good job not throwing any last week. Although, like I said, there was a couple that he threw right to the other team. They just didn't catch it.
Watching what's happening in Dallas right now, Mike McCarthy, if you had to predict, is McCarthy back next year?
No, heavens no. And, and Jerry Jones came out today and said, hey, listen, I haven't made a decision yet. Like you're dangling a carrot. Shame on you, dangling it. Like, hey, Mike McCarthy, look what I got right here. I've got a carrot.
I got your job.
Right. If you just win 4 or 5 of the remaining games with Cooper Rush and and a bunch of also rans, maybe you just get to keep your job. But Jerry Jones, would you stop it? What an ass clown. Like, what an ass clown. If you Mike McCarthy, now Mike McCarthy's got too much integrity, but you should just go, up yours, Jerry. Like, listen, you should come out with at the press conference and say, hey, by the way, my contract's up after the season. I just want to preempt this right now.
Yeah.
Don't offer me a freaking contract. I want to go ahead and say these will be my last couple of games of coaching for the Cowboys. I have no desire to sign a new contract, so don't even offer me anything. I would love Mike McCarthy. He's got too much class to do it. I don't, because I tell you this all the time. I'm a good loser. I'm a gracious loser. I'm a dick when it comes to winning, and I would just be a dick in this situation.
Yeah, just come out and say, I'd like to announce my coaching free agency right now, because I'd like to let everybody know, because there's going to be 6 or 7 jobs that are open, that I'm available. I will be available. So let's start the conversation now if you'd like.
Yeah,
so.
We had an injury-riddled season. Our owner decided not to sign anybody in free agency. But remember, before this injury-riddled season, I went 12-4, 12-4, 12-4, or whatever it was, 12-5, I guess it is, right? I'm going by the old number or the old math, but I won 12 games 3 straight years, so I am going to be a coaching free agent, and I'm open to having that conversation.
I was asking you to handicap some stuff there in the NFC North. How about these other 2 divisions in the NFC? Who's going to win the South? Who's going to win the West? Does anybody want it?
I'm telling you, so I've got this weekend, I've got Tampa Bay at Carolina. And I'm telling you, watching Tampa on film, they've gotten healthy. They got Mike Evans back. He's a difference maker. They've got Bucky Irvin and three running backs that they rotate in there. Bucky Irvin, by the way, this rookie is watching him on tape, Mike. He's exciting, really exciting. And I kid you not, I think that Bucky Irvin could start at slot receiver in this league. I think he's got that kind of dynamic nature, that kind of route running ability. Like Bucky Irvin, they split him outside all the time. They get into this 2-back, this 21 pony, if you will, with Bucky Irvin and White in the same backfield. And they're pretty dynamic, man. And then Baker Mayfield's like a freaking chihuahua. I mean, he just did that, just talking shit all the time. So he got the 3rd down and 4 last weekend against the Giants, man. They run a quarterback draw, man. He scrambles out. He gets to the sideline, and Simmons just slaps the ball out of his hand and shoves him, right? He goes flying into the bench, hits the bench on his back, bam, pops up, and he's just like, he's just all over him, man. Then he's got the, he's doing the Tommy DeVito thing. He's all Italian. They ask him if he's Italian, if he ask him about, throwing shade toward Tommy DeVito, and he goes, I don't know, I haven't checked 23andMe or whatever the hell it is. It was just I love Baker, man. I absolutely think he's exactly what the NFL needs. And I've talked about Atlanta. I thought Atlanta would win this division. I thought they were the best in this division. They have no pass rush, man. Yeah. They can't get to the opponent's quarterback. And getting healthy at the right time, I have a feeling that Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to go on a run here. And I think the Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win this division back-to-back years. I think they're going to make a run.
Hey, listen, the fact that Atlanta doesn't have much of a pass rush really is no big deal. Just ask Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Inside joke.
Yeah, as what they hang 38 on the Atlanta Falcons.
We'll get to Sean's Broncos here in a second, but the NFC. The West,
right?
Geez, who wants it? Does anybody want it?
Well, Seattle played really well the other day, and I thought their defense really turned a corner against Arizona. Arizona's a physical team. They've run the ball exceptionally well. James Conner had 7 carries for 8 yards. Like they shut them down, and they didn't blow them out by any stretch of the imagination. It was pretty much a one-score game the entirety of the game. But that defense got after Arizona. They shut down that run game. They were exceptional. Leonard Williams was outstanding, and I think all of a sudden what you're seeing is Seattle kind of, falling into Mike McDonald's defense, really starting to understand that defense, what he's asking them to do. It is a defense back in his Baltimore days that was very complex. They did a lot of different things. They did them all well. They disguised things really well. They had guys playing multiple positions. Like all of a sudden that stuff starts coming together. Obviously, with Walker on the offensive side, Smith and Jigba, with Metcalf, they've got some talent on that side of the ball. Like all of a sudden, I think Seattle is kind of in the catbird seat to win that division.
Let's discuss the team that's in our backyard here. The Denver Broncos. Are they, for you, the surprise team in the NFL thus far this season?
No. I mean, you work with me on a daily basis. I've said from day one, first thing I said was 5.5, hammer the over. And then remember the article that came out and said they're the worst roster, this like the 31st roster. And what did I say to the response to that? Just because you don't know the names doesn't mean they don't have really good football players.
Right.
Like I just went after people and nobody wanted to listen to that. This team defensively, this team is outstanding. They are a really good defense. They're very deep. Now, they've got Riley Moss injury there. They've got a couple other injuries that scare me a little bit. It was Zach Allen. Zach Allen was hurt a little bit, right? He was in a boot. But the other thing I had said on a daily basis, and I spent a lot of time evaluating Bo Nix, but a lot of time talking to Sean Payton about Bo Nix. And just his overall kind of acumen for football. When people said, well, he's not gifted athletically, he doesn't have big time arm talent. And I went back and watched all the film. I was like, you guys are high. Yeah. Like, I don't know what I guess if you don't throw it 75 yards in the air, you don't have big time arm talent. It's a matter of how that ball spins and how it gets on receivers. He's deadly accurate, and I'm telling you what, that dude can spin it. That dude can throw it into windows. He had a couple of tight windows throws the other week, last week against Atlanta that I was like, holy Moses. And then they couldn't run the ball for 2 inches against the Raiders. The Raiders played a bunch of zero on them. They brought a bunch of run blitzes. They were loading the box, and they put it on Bo Nix's shoulders, man, and he drove them to a couple touchdowns in the second half, and they ran away with that game against the Raiders on the road. Something they haven't done in years, win against the Raiders on the road. Bo Nix is legit, and right now, like he is like cheap underpants. He's creeping up on Jaden Daniels for the Rookie of the Year, and I'm telling you what, I'm not going to be surprised when he passes him by here in the next 2 weeks.
So, look, Drew Brees threw for 80,000 yards. Ridiculous. He threw for over 500 touchdowns. Ridiculous. Okay, I'm not going to try to put those type of comparisons on Bo Nix's plate right now. But, come on, how can you not help but look at the characteristics of Bo Nix and not see some similarities with Drew Brees? And then you got Luke McCown, who spent 4 years with Sean and Drew, coming out and saying, I'm telling you, I see so much of 9 in Bo Nix, and Sean has his next Drew Brees. Now, I'm not saying that Bo's going to go on to have a Drew Brees career, but stylistically, you can tell that Sean was looking for a particular kind of quarterback, and he saw Bo and he saw Drew.
Yeah, you really build a quarterback from the ground up, and one, it starts with his feet. His feet are really good, and early in the season, man, he had some lazy lapses in footwork, and I think a lot of that has to do with playing in shotgun your whole life. Mm-hmm. When you play in shotgun, the college football game is just different. You're playing against zone the majority of time because you're running things with such a pace, and you're in shotgun the whole time, and your footwork, it's just lazy. So it doesn't time up to the routes and the route combinations. A lot of time in college football, you're picking one guy out. You're going, that's my guy. I'm going to throw it to him when he hits an open window because they're playing zone. And it's just a different style of football. And early in the season, man, he had some lapses footwork wise that you just kind of looked at and said, wow, that didn't time up really well, or he got ahead of the receivers, he got a little sped up in the pocket. Man, he's been really good here the last 4 or 5 weeks. And I'm telling you, man, it's unbelievable what this guy has been able to accomplish. I mean, he's going down in it's the annals, right, of history. Yes. It's not the annals of history.
No, Mark.
Annals.
It's annals. Let's stay with annals, okay?
We're going to go with annals on this one?
Yeah, because otherwise, the other one, you're going to go viral, and you don't need that.
Right. No, nobody needs to go viral on the annals. But look at this. QBs with 20-plus total touchdowns and 2 or fewer turnovers in a 10-game span within a single season, okay? These are the QBs that have done that. 20-plus total TDs, that's passing and running, obviously, 2 or fewer turnovers in the game of a 10-game span, a 10-game window within a season. Aaron Rodgers has done it. He did it twice, 2014, 2021. Drew Brees did it 2018 and 2019. Tom Brady did it once, 2016. Patrick Mahomes did it once in 2020, and Bo Nix this year. Dude, you are on a list with Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Famer, soon to be, Drew Brees, Hall of Famer, Tom Brady, Hall of Famer, and Patrick Mahomes, Hall of Famer. Bo Nix is going to the Hall of Fame. That's the only thing I can deduce from that is Bo Nix is a Hall of Famer.
If not the Hall of Fame, definitely the annals.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely.
He's going into somebody's annals, and it's going to be tremendous when he gets there. Absolutely tremendous. Yes,
he's definitely going to make his mark for sure.
Yeah, but he is having an unbelievable season. And that first 4 games was a bit shaky, and people will talk about that Jets game where he only had 60 yards passing in just a monsoon. But I'm telling you, what this guy is doing right now is he is so dialed in, he's so tied together. And oh, by the way, this is with guys named Vele, this is guys named Mims, this is guys, named Little Jordan Humphrey. This is without a tight end, by the way.
Right.
They don't have a tight end that does anything production-wise. As a matter of fact, the guy they drafted in the 3rd round a couple of years ago to really set to create that opportunity, they just cut him in Greg Dulcich. So it's just a really interesting what he's been able to accomplish here under Sean Payton. He just fits exactly what Sean Payton wants to do.
We'll get to our moneymaker picks here in a second, but just some of the big matchups this weekend. San Francisco, Buffalo. At some point, Stink, do we have to look at what's going on with San Francisco, and it's not just simply about the injuries? Something else is happening here?
Yeah, they lost guys in free agency. They lost guys to injuries. But the thing about San Francisco that's always been interesting is their ability to scheme up explosives. So an explosive defined as a 20-plus yard pass play and a 10 to 12-plus yard run play. And, when you talk to defensive coordinators around the league, they'll tell you that every explosive is equal to about 3 points. So you put an explosive drive together in a game, that's any explosive, or any explosive play in a drive, you're going to come away with at least 3 points, okay? That's kind of how it works. You look at San Francisco, man, you used to be able to count on that offense producing 7, 8, 9 explosives based upon the way they run the ball and all their play action stuff off that run game. They were able to put up 7, 8, 9 a game. Every game you could count on it. And this is what's hard to do. It is hard to put a drive together that's 8 plays, 9 plays, 10 plays, 11 plays, and scores a touchdown. It's really hard to put 8, 9, 10 play drives together without shooting yourself in the foot. And, man, Christian McCaffrey's been back, 2-3 games? I have yet to see him have an explosive run. Maybe he has one. I didn't see it, but there's no they're not doing anything on the offensive side of the ball that I'm like, oh, man, what a great design off that particular run, and look at this. And then I thought there was going to be kind of a package with Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey in the same backfield together that was going to be dynamic and da-da-da-da-da, and that hasn't happened. And then it was like, well, when Christian McCaffrey comes back, it's going to fix their red zone woes. They haven't been able to score in the red zone. Well, last week they scored, 2 weeks ago they scored 17 points against Seattle. Last week they scored 10 points in Green Bay. Like, you're going to go play Buffalo in Buffalo. It's in Buffalo, right? I mean, I would just say, I know they're one game out of first place in that division. Stick a fork in the 49ers. They are done.
Wow. Okay.
They're what, in that division, they're 1-3 in their own division. They're not going to win a tiebreaker. The only way you're going to win is to win that division, even though you're one game out. I just don't think you're going to win. I think they're done, Mike.
Meanwhile, Buffalo, Josh Allen, is he your leading MVP candidate right now?
Boy, if you look at his stats, they're all 14th, 15th, 12th. Like, all his stats are that. Like, listen, I've been campaigning against quarterbacks pretty much my whole life.
Yes.
I hate those guys, right?
Hate them.
I just hate, they're just so, all the attention. Oh, look at me. And Josh has done an unbelievable job. Don't get me wrong. But come on, Saquon Barkley is your MVP. Can we just stop making everything? Can we stop making the Heisman and the MVP a quarterback award? Okay, so here's what we did. Hey, we're going to make it a quarterback award, so let's create the Offensive Player of the Year award that we don't give to a quarterback. Well, give that to a quarterback too. What the hell? Why wouldn't we? I mean, I'm just so sick of it. Like, is it the MVP? Like, honestly, what about Tua? If the Miami Dolphins go on a run, and like MVP is most valuable player, it's not the best player, it's the most valuable player. They couldn't sniff first downs when Tua was out. Guess what? Tua comes back, and all of a sudden, we're talking about them making a potential playoff run. Now, they got to go to Green Bay and win in the cold. That's not something that Miami does well, but we'll see. Yeah, here's the other thing that I was just shot down on my breakfast ball show the other day, and it kind of pissed me off. What about Tua for comeback player of the year?
Sure.
But they're like, no, it's year over year. You can't have it within the year. Dude, he suffered his 19th concussion, right? People were saying he's got to retire. The NFL's got to shut him down. He should never play again. And, like, he's got him on a run right now. He's got him on a little bit of a heater.
Well, look at the bright side. I think we're going to get a Heisman Trophy winner that will be a non-quarterback in Travis Hunter from Colorado. So maybe we'll get a non-quarterback MVP in the NFL in Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, once every 20 years is not too much to ask. I think the last MVP was Adrian Peterson in like 2012, right? That's almost 20 years, isn't it? Close enough.
Sure.
Crying out loud. Why? Let's not let math get in the way. It's never stopped us before.
Never has before. Hey, let's get to our moneymaker picks. We both went 2-1 last week, so maintain the status quo. You still got a solid lead over me, but I still have time. So you get to go.
How much time do you have? You're going to have to go like 3-0 in every. I mean, maybe this Lloyd Christmas sweater that you're wearing is going to help you out in your picks. Okay, so here's my moneymaker picks. Now, right now, you're a 19-17, Mike.
Okay.
No blood was drawn because we both went 2-1 last week. You're 19-17, where I am 23-12-1.
Oof. Okay, it's a big number in the vaunted loss column right there.
Yeah, it is a big number in the loss column right there.
It's a big number.
So let me start off. I'm going to build on Seattle's defense, what they were able to do. Leonard Williams back to the Jets where he got a start in his career. I like Seattle giving up 2 to the Jets. I like them to win by at least a field goal. The Eagles going on the road to the Ravens, 2 really good football teams built very similarly. The Eagles getting 3 points against the Ravens. I'm going to take the Eagles. I'm going to take the 3 points. And then my last one, it's going to be a Thanksgiving Day miracle. Detroit, the Bears. There used to be a time, as you mentioned, when we started this podcast that nobody wanted to watch Detroit football. They all want to watch it now. I think Detroit giving up 10. I'm just kidding. They keep winning by 18 every game. I'm going to keep picking Detroit. I'll give the 10 over the Bears.
I'm going to stay in the AFC North. I do believe that Pittsburgh's unraveling is going to begin here. I think we saw the first signs of it last week. I'm going to take.
Is that your Russ hate coming up right there?
Moi?
Yeah.
Moi? Me?
Yeah.
Come on now.
You always try to pin it on me, but I can tell the secret Russ hate that's going on.
All right. Hey, this is strictly professional right here. Strictly professional.
Right.
No personal vendettas whatsoever. I'm going to take Cincinnati minus the 3 against the Steelers. I'm going to take the Rams to bounce back against New Orleans, minus 2.5 on the road. I'll take the Rams. And then I'm going to continue to ride these Denver Broncos. They've got some really good mojo going right now. They're at home, Monday Night Football, underneath the lights in Mile High. So I'm going to take Denver minus the 5.5 over Cleveland.
I love it. I looked at that game very, very hard. It took a hard, deep dive into that game, and I wanted to pick it, but I was just like, no, I'm taking Detroit.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with Detroit. All right, for everybody involved, man, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Have just a blessed holiday season. For Mike, you enjoy yourself up there. Are you going to go skiing, Mike?
Yes, skiing is on the docket for sure. Absolutely.
Do you have a pair of those furry boots on as well with that Lloyd Christmas sweater you got on?
Yeah, I got my Sorels on right now. Yeah. My Uggs. I got my Tom Brady winter Uggs on.
Oh, that's nice. And that hat is a size, what, 9 1/4? What is that hat?
It's actually a big dumb hat. For anybody else, it'd be a big dumb hat. For me, it's just a hat.
All right, for everybody involved in Stinkin' Truth, he's Mike. I am Mark. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with you guys next week.